Hello and welcome. Some time ago I created this little After Effects project. I'm going to play it now. This is a little video of a solar clock. As you can see here, I use 3D in After Effects, 3D layers, some lights, a shadow. Now there are several elements that were created in After Effects. Actually, most of this is created in After Effects. The only thing that I really need to import here is that texture on that clock face. And I found it very interesting that just with After Effects you can create a lot of stuff without actually bringing much into the project, and can already create interesting motion graphics, just generating most of the graphics actually in After Effects. This particular video, I would like to explain a little bit how I created it. I intend this to be a tutorial, so I'm going to go step by step to create something like this. I don't know if I'll create exactly the same thing, because I created this video quite a long time ago. But, I'll try to create something similar. I think the most important here is to really understand how this is set up, how to work with 3D layers, how to work with lights and with the shadows. So that actually is really my objective for this particular lesson, to focus on some more advanced 3D techniques in After Effects. In order to be able to follow this tutorial, you need to know some basic of After Effects. You need to know how to create layers, how to set up keyframes, and how to work with animating properties. So some basic knowledge is necessary in order to follow this tutorial. Alright, so I'm going to play it one more time. Let's quickly analyze it. So we have text here, we have this circle, which is the clock face, and then we have this arm sticking out there, and the shadow that that drops over the face here, and there are also those months. So all those elements are kind of flying in and out in 3D. I think that at first we're going to focus on actually creating this clock here. This is going to be a little bit complicated to set it up, but I think once you get an idea, how this works, it will open a lot of possibilities for you to play with this similar concepts and create your own animations. So let's jump into it. Let's start from the beginning. And so After Effects, I have the After Effects open, and I always start with organizing a little bit my project here. So assets, I'm going to create an asset folder, and into the asset folder I'm going to bring in this texture. How do I bring the assets in? I usually use a shortcut, Command I. You can use, if you don't have the same texture of the paper, but you can use any texture of the paper. There are tons of them all over the place on the internet. Just grab something, and doesn't have to be identical. Okay, so we have the paper texture in. The next thing is we have to start to create our compositions. I'm going to call them comps. I noticed that a lot of people just call them comps. So created a comp folder. Actually, I'm going to take it out of the assets folder, so it's here on the root directory of my project. And the next step, let's put in my main, another folder which is going to contain my main comps, and another folder that is going to have all the pre-comps. I'm not going to really explain about comps and pre-comps. You should be already familiar with that if you work with After Effects a little bit. But basically pre-comps are the nested compositions inside my main composition, the main comp. And that's how we're going to work. We're going to construct smaller assets, put them in one composition, and then nest that composition in another one, and slowly going to build a little like almost like a pyramid of different composition, one nested inside the other. That way we can easily control and change things, having some kind of a logical structure to our project. I found that this is the best way to work. Usually, if you want to put all your assets and everything in just one main composition, it becomes really difficult to control. If you work with in 2D, that's actually nesting camps, pre-camping, assets and some layers. It's still pretty straightforward. The thing is getting more complicated when you get into 3D, because then you start to get into some properties of your assets from your pre-camp being reflected in your main camp and so forth. So that's why I think this particular exercise is going to be helpful to really understand how to work with it and how to understand the structure and the mechanism of that whole setup.